my usual NYPD shirt and.
See, because I wore a tank for you, so I'm jumping.
You did.
Completely disrespectful.
A tank. What does that say on there?
It says a bathing ape.
Oh,
it's a very fashionable brand that young people are wearing right now.
I don't deny it, even though I have
what all
no
the
clue.
kids are wearing right
It's what all the kids are wearing. I might have to get some. Get some in the wardrobe. Get some in the wardrobe. I think the left will go crazy if I do this. Alex Jones on.
It's not about
Milo, welcome. So I love doing the Alex Jones. It's obviously the globalists. It was a false flag operation. The Gulf of Tonkin.
You have to talk from here.
Yeah, it's right from the throat. It'll hurt. I was doing karaoke last night, so I'm like, I blew my voice out.
You're a little
trying
hoarse.
to sing some Bee Gees, and I'm a little hoarse today.
A little hoarse.
A little hoarse. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Just a pleasure having you here. We've spoken through Skype and whatnot.
I've been with Gavin.
Yes,
at
Gavin
things,
McGinnis.
and you've been down the line,
things,
and I've waved at you.
Yes.
And I think that's the closest we've ever come to having a conversation, is I've waved at you on a laptop on Skype and sort of been like on my way somewhere or something.
Yeah, that was about it. But again,
I've been
welcome.
an admirer for a long time.
Thank you, sir. I've admired your work, too.
Well, thank you. Admired.
And
did you catch that tense? I admired your work, too.
I admired your work, too. No, I admire your work. Because we do have things in common. We've both been, or they've attempted to eliminate us from the public eye based on what we talk about.
You did. You had some mean tweets or some
mean tweets.
Mean tweets.
I was assaulted in Times Square.
And you happened to have the temerity to express your displeasure at being punched in the face by someone.
Yes.
How dare you?
Yes.
And they try to run you off the road. No,
that's
it's
the type of that's the climate we live in now. Right. Is that the victims are the perps and the perps are the victims, and it's a backwards, topsy-turvy world we live in. Right. What was the atmosphere over at Breitbart that they felt they needed to get rid of you?
Well, I resigned. They didn't get rid of me.
Did they want to get rid of you? Did you pull a Dick Nixon? I'm out of here.
No. I don't think it would have got to that stage. They're very loyal people, and they will go out to battle for their people, you know.
Yeah.
And they will go out into the fields for you for as long as it takes and have your back until the end. I just felt as though there was so much drama and so much attention on words I didn't even say and didn't mean and all the rest of it. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to put my very patient employer out of their misery. And do what I was planning to do anyway. As as a personality, I was already starting to outgrow the masthead, and we had a business plan in place already to spin me off as a separate entity, as a separate brand, for the books and the tour and all the rest of it. I mean, Breitbart is not set up to launch a star, to incubate a media personality of my size.
Yeah,
Breitbart's just not equipped for that. So all I did, I guess, is just sort of bring my timetable forward by 6 months because of what happened. So in the end, it worked out fine. I'm going to sell a lot more books and make a lot more money this way.
Your book. Dangerous.
Yes. It's out on July 4th.
July 4th.
Yes. And huge numbers of pre-orders already. So I mean, we haven't even really done any advertising, and we're projecting like 300,000 copies, and we haven't even advertised it yet. So once I actually get out there, like on the beat, we'll do 500,000. It's going to be, and it's all thanks to the censors. It's all thanks to people who want to close down the speech of somebody who just cracks fat jokes and doesn't like feminism very much.
You're fat shaming.
Congratulations to
It's not a joke. There's no laughing about people's weight.
Well, yes, there is.
Terrible.
There's laughing about everything.
You know what's great? Your book is going to sell to people that love you and people that despise you.
Yeah.
You can't get...
I'm Playboy, I'm like a guilty pleasure. But people on the left will read me and deny it. People on the right will read me and either also deny it or shout really loudly about it.
Yes.
But there's not really anybody who doesn't read me at all or doesn't watch the talks or whatever. So yeah, I think the book is really written for people who don't like me. It's written for my enemies. Otherwise, I wouldn't use such disgusting language about them. I wouldn't spend so much time crafting the perfect insult if I didn't know that they were my primary audience.
I saw that BuzzFeed wrote a scathing piece on some early version of something that they
like a 6-month-old draft. No, it was like a January draft or something, and it was the first thing we turned into Simon & Schuster just to demonstrate to them that I was capable of producing a book-length product. And BuzzFeed got their hands on it. Who knows how? And probably someone at Simon & Schuster.
I would gather.
I wonder what happened there. There's me in a. Am I allowed to swear on the show?
Of course.
Yeah. So there's me in a "Fuck Simon & Schuster" T-shirt on my Instagram, and suddenly BuzzFeed has a copy of the manuscript that Simon and Schuster
Yeah,
got. It's
yeah.
like, So
I wonder.
Anyway, so it's a book aimed squarely at not just BuzzFeed readers, but BuzzFeed journalists. And they gave me exactly what I was hoping for, which is a scathing review from social justice warriors.
Yes.
I had a very nice review today from the Daily Caller, which was a much more nuanced and intelligent reading of the book and a better understanding of what it was seeking to achieve. But a bad review from BuzzFeed, oh no.
Yeah,
I couldn't get better. I couldn't ask for a better marketing than that. I mean, they just can't help themselves.
It really is amazing that over the course of the past maybe couple of years, when people really started to take note of you and what you're doing, how angry the left got and how they just
they hate
wanted
me
to
so much.
silence you. What is with the let's keep anyone from hearing what he has to say from the left instead of let's get into lively debate?
Well, this has been a problem with the left for a really long time, but it came to a head, I guess, with me because I am walking disproof of the central tenets of leftism.
Oh, man.
Identity politics, the virtues of political correctness, all of the things on which, progressive, far left, academic and media PC consensus is based. All of the fundamental assumptions on which that is based, and all of their ownership of various voting and the minority categories, whether it's blacks or gays or whatever. The fundamental assumptions which underpin their entire worldview are completely disproven by my existence, and that's what makes me so dangerous. And that's why the book is called that.
Dangerous.
And that's why they hate me so much, and that's why they send they pay for armed thugs to smash up towns whenever I want to go and give a talk about cultural appropriation. I'm giving like I was planning to give quite a nuanced talk about this leftist concept, cultural appropriation. They say basically that you can't assume costumes or appreciate the cuisine of oppressed cultures because you haven't participated in the system of whatever that got them to. But I'm so my response to this is to go on stage at UC Berkeley, the home of this garbage, in full Native American headdress, with like dangerous faggot embroidered on the embroidered on the rabbit, and give a talk,
way over the top. Yeah.
And instead of my name is Chief Sucks on Dick, and make fun of the concept, but also talk about it intelligently. And their response to this, performance art, provocation, whatever you want to call it, is to burn down Berkeley. And they did. And you hear the stories about like $100,000 of damage done to UC Berkeley, but there was also $400,000 worth of damage done to downtown Berkeley. I mean, they literally smashed up their own town, as the left always does, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Antifa. They continue to to burn their own houses down.
Progressive.
This is the progressive
liberal
way.
and wonderful,
enlightened,
minded,
and forward thinking.
I've always assumed that if somebody has a point of view you don't agree with, that the best response is a lively debate where you can disprove the person or make them look silly. Or
I'm pretty sure that that's somehow racist and sexist.
I would assume that.
I think the current consensus is that the open marketplace of ideas is racist and sexist because white people benefit from structural this stuff is exhausting.
Right, systemic racism.
It's exhausting.
You don't see any real I don't think I've ever walked up to a real racist that just was spouting all the stereotypical racist stuff like you see in movies and television, by the way.
Never met one.
You ever see a racist white guy on television? It's like, who is that?
Where are these people?
Yeah, I tell you, we should have picked our own cotton. Yeah, I've never heard anyone actually say that.
You and I actually go into real America. I mean, my tour went through Louisiana, through Tennessee. I spent weeks in these places. I just couldn't meet anyone like that, and I was trying. I had a huge bus with Dangerous Faggot and a picture of me on the side.
Right.
And of course, we were stopping at truck stops for the bus to do its thing and for us to get food and all the rest of it. For the boys to take showers and all the rest of it. And I was getting off the bus in a dress. And people were coming up to me and saying, "Are you that Milo guy? Well, look, my son loves you, and look, I don't agree with everything, but I'll pray for you and keep doing what you're doing." That's the worst they say to you is, "I'll pray for you." I mean, the worst you could say about like real America, as I like to call it. The worst thing they did to me is maybe you could possibly interpret that as being slightly patronizing, but really, I mean, compare that.
The expectation is that those people would come out of their truck and be like, "Hey, faggot." What the hell? Like, that's
run me out of town.
Right, that's how it's portrayed. And we're supposed to believe through media that's the reaction, when meanwhile the violence is coming from the people that are supposed to be so tolerant and liberal.
I don't look at what people say, I look at what they do.
Right.
I sold out a 1,200-seater auditorium in Louisiana in 48 hours, and I went on stage in full drag as my drag persona, Ivana Wall, and I had a standing ovation from 1,200 Louisiana Republicans. Yeah. I mean, what else do you need to say? This is like, it's
dangerous. And the title is so appropriate because you're dangerous because you don't fit that mold that you're supposed to fit as a gay man. Just like a black conservative is an Uncle Tom.
Yeah.
We just saw
I don't know when none of
Karen
them have broken
Handel,
through, though, because there've been so many like great black conservatives around.
Oh, Uncle Toms, you mean?
Right, but I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's because people aren't as brave on the race question. Even black conservatives aren't as brave on the race question, or they don't want to be clownish in public, and I don't mind being clownish. But black conservatives haven't broken through in the way that I have for a gay conservative. You know, there hasn't been a black Milo. You know, I always wonder why, and I think maybe it's just because people it doesn't matter how ballsy you are, people are still just too squeamish about race.
I think it would come out or come across or give the opportunity for them to say, "Oh, you're a step and fetch it," kind of, a clown.
We won't Bill Maher it, but
Bill Maher.
Yeah. But
speaking of, I hear he wants you back.
Yeah, of course he wants me back.
He wants you back. It was a great ratings bonanza.
No, I was the guest of the year. Are you kidding me? Of course he wants me back. And so we're working out the date right now.
Oh, that's great.
I don't know if it's going to come before their hiatus, because I think they go off for a month. But sure. I mean, hopefully the book is going to kind of crest, I think, over summer. So it'll be around that time.
And you have no fear of sitting and talking to anybody.
No, I want to talk to everybody. I want to talk to everyone on the planet. I'm just an intellectually curious person, and I don't understand why the entire ranked masses of the other side of many of these debates just don't want to talk.
You know why? Because they're so petrified that somebody in the audience is going to go, I don't agree with everything, but that's an interesting point. That to them is lethal, because that's why they want to literally silence people. And this is supposed to be, especially UC Berkeley, where for years in the 60s and 70s, that was the pinnacle
home of the free speech.
Of free speech.
You can believe that. Well,
it's impossible to believe these days.
Well, I'm going to bring it back. So I'm launching Free Speech Week in Berkeley.
Right.
And we're going to have...
this is going to go over well.
Exactly. Well, you don't know the half of it. I'm giving out the Mario Savio Award for free speech. I mean, and his son has already come out to have a go at me.
Really?
His son. And I'm like, and he's saying this is a travesty, it's a disgrace to use my dad's name like this. And I'm like, so the son of the founder of the free speech movement is a fascist, and I'm the one shitting on your dad's legacy. Got it, Danny.
Yeah. It is astounding how the left completely reversed.
And I'm giving it to Ann Coulter, by the way. Because, because of course I am.
She had her issues over there also. I mean, they invite people to speak, and then it's shut down for reasons of security, is it? Whose security? Did you voice a problem with your safety?
It's a Kafkaesque cycle where the universities and the media, these organs of progressive groupthink, establish an unsafe environment for conservatives, then blame and financially charge those conservatives for the environment they have themselves created, and implying as they do so that it is the conservatives and conservative ideas that are responsible for the incidents of violence, and ignoring the fact that all the violence comes from the left. It is when you actually think your way through how it came to be, it's like
I can't. I'm so tired of saying Orwellian. It's just one of these things but it's so
right. Well,
true.
I say Kafkaesque, and I think every interview I've given for the last 6 months for the same reason. It's like, I can't think of anything other. I'm just searching for some literary word for absurd. That's just all you can. It's the only explanation. The only way you can go with it is literature. Because it's just so insane.
When you see people fighting against fascism, and they are the definition of fascism. Like, you can't find a more accurate definition or depiction of fascism than Antifa.
No, there isn't one. There isn't one.
Who doesn't think this is ludicrous? Who doesn't see? It's become so obvious. The corruption of the media, the obvious bias. It's become so obvious. I think they used to try for plausible deniability, but it's so obvious now. Who's not seeing it?
They've given up. They're not bothering anymore. I mean, look, it's interesting actually. Mainstream liberals, like the smarter ones, like Anderson Cooper, I think have seen that the jig is up, and they can't get away with everything anymore. So he for instance threw Kathy Griffin under the bus instantly.
Oh man, yeah,
immediately.
This is terrible.
This is awful. It's
despicable.
It's like a year ago you wouldn't have said that, but he will now because he knows he's going to lose so many people if he doesn't. And I think it's fairly pathetic. But the hardcore people are just like on that freight train to crazy town, and they don't care how many people they alienate. It's good. It's great if you believe in free speech and free expression and all the things that my readers and my people.
Like, it's becoming laughable when they call people racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic. It's that label that used to petrify people.
And it does,
called that.
And I think the mistake they've made is now they've started calling people white supremacists and white nationalists.
Right.
It's crossed over the line into such ludicrousness that it's just discredited the whole lot. And I think people just aren't afraid of being called racist anymore.
No, it used to be horrible.
Right. And I think there's just people just aren't afraid. They just aren't afraid like they used to be.
I think you have to get so sick of something to finally go, I just don't care.
Call me whatever you want. Right. I'm going to get on with my effing life, Like, I just can't. Okay, sorry. I do like seven interviews a day, and I'm going from like news to shows where I can talk freely.
I do a traditional radio show with my buddies over.
No idea
sometimes, and it's impossible.
I can't code switch like you because I'm not a pro yet. I'm a baby. I'm at the beginning of my career, and I'm still like petrified of saying like fuck on cable television or something.
Right.
So I'm still kind of like asking furtively before I say faggot or something.
How does the mainstream media treat you? Do you feel you're being blindsided, or do they grasp who you are and what you're doing?
No, and there's been no attempt to. The people who do understand what I'm doing recognize that I'm so dangerous that I shouldn't be touched at all, so they don't cover me at all. And if you look at the magnitude of like my cultural influence versus the amount of coverage I get, it's like, what do you do? Really? And it's just classic of the media covering what they want to and ignoring what's inconvenient for them. The only time they leap on is when something goes wrong.
But when you really started picking up steam, and you were on mainstream media, like they were covering what you were doing every day. At some point, and you were so dangerous to them that I feel you needed to be taken down. Well, I think it was a concerted effort by the left to silence you. They did not want you, did not fit the mold of what you were supposed to be, what their whole criteria for a gay man is.
But they left it too late. They let me get too big. Because now I'm back with like a $12 million investment. What is going to be a best-selling book? I'm gonna be on bigger shows than I was ever on before. I mean, you should see the list of shows we have booked for the next 3 weeks. I'm gonna be in people's living rooms, as a direct result of what they did. It was the most counterproductive thing imaginable. It has magnified my influence and my name recognition by 10, 20 times. And it got me $12 million. Thank you very much. It's like it's so counterproductive, and a lot of media figures who get cut down in their ascendancy will try to claim that everything's okay and it's just made me stronger. But I have a billboard going up in Times Square in 4 days. I have 300,000 projected sales for this book before we've even started marketing. We have hard data and numbers and evidence, and I have national news shows who are banging down my door for slots that we can book things in. I know for sure that they waited too long. They waited too long. If they wanted to take me out, they needed to do it 6 months or a year before.
Earlier than they did.
And
how they took you out. You were on Bill Maher's show. You were talking about relationships.
I mean, he and I
that manipulated and twisted around, because from what I heard, there was nothing wrong with what you were saying in the context you were saying it in.
No, well, it wasn't actually really anything to do with Bill Maher. He kind of took credit for it, which is something that he does often. The thing is this, the Republican movement split in two in this election. You had the young, mischievous, Trumpian, populist, nationalist, conservative strand, of which I was, with whom I was very popular, and then the sort of establishment, conservative, like GOP faction, if you like. And I was booked as the headline speaker at CPAC, which is a conference for the latter group, and they had lost the party to Trump. And they had a president in the White House they hated, even though he was nominally, a member of their own party, and they could not lose the youth movement to me. So they had to just come for something. So they picked the thing they thought would irritate establishment conservatives who ran that ran that conference the most, which was me speaking, like just freeballing, like speaking loosely at 3 a.m. on a live stream about my experiences,
your experience,
about gay relationships and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So they they edited a little video together that was just really unpalatable for the sort of person who would be an establishment conservative committee member.
Yeah.
Fine, good for you. Like, it's okay. What everybody saw was somebody who had been mistreated by the media, who had been misquoted, and who everybody was desperate to take down, but who clearly wasn't going anywhere, and was going to take a break and come back. And that's exactly what happened. And there are plenty of examples of this happening on the left, and people's careers actually skyrocketing after this. There aren't that many of them on the right, but I am going to provide an example of it for others.
The left always has the convenience of context that people on the right don't. A comic on the left can say, well, it was a joke, it was my art, it's an expression of
of course.
And
they don't know what I am, so nobody really knows when it's okay for me to say certain things, where and how. And I just say whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, and leave it to other people to work.
Should anybody?
Well, of course, it's like, you're paid to cover me, so you want to come up with names for me, that's fine. Go to your editor and have a discussion about it. I'm just going to get on with my job, I don't care to get involved in that sort of categorization garbage, but nobody really knows whether it's okay that I say all the stuff I say. I think it is, and most of my fans and readers do.
Yeah.
And I think the book sales speak for themselves. So, I don't really care about... I mean, I view establishment Republicans as just as much of an enemy to free speech and free expression in many ways as the progressive left. And they should be scared by that statement, because the future of the young conservative movement isn't people like them, it's people like me.
Yeah. Isn't it... it's kind of a double-edged sword. This I am such a strong advocate of freedom of speech. I think anything is appropriate to say in context, and
I think you should basically be able to say anything. And
anything.
And there are perfectly reasonable arguments for this. Like, if I just want everybody to say faggot. And I was saying this all the way through my tour.
Right.
My tour was named that specifically because, if you rob the word of its power, it doesn't have any power to hurt anymore. And I was just making fun of a bunch of different things, But I'm a free speech fundamentalist. I don't want the state to get involved in what people say.
Right.
I think you should say, do and be whatever the hell you want. The only issue I have, I'm a classical liberal. The only issue I have is when you start to affect my rights, and when you start to come into my house and come into my stuff and, and affect my property, my rights, or something real, or me physically,
When I see people going and getting up on the stage at the Julius Caesar here in New York City, it's kind of I want them obviously to have the freedom to put on whatever show they want. I don't care, but I get such joy watching them get a taste of their own medicine.
That is exactly my position, and that was exactly the answer I gave. I was doing a radio show earlier today and elsewhere in New York, and
Jim Norton.
No, Bernie and Sid.
I love them.
And that is, I love them too. They're my favorite. They're my favorite. Like, we have such great chemistry. So it's my favorite show to do when I come to New York, and that's exactly the answer I gave.
Yeah.
It's like, I must adhere to principle and say that I want everybody to be, I'm not going through the motions. I do mean it. I want everybody to be able to say, do, and be whatever they want. I want any play to be able to the audience should be able to go and see whatever play they want, and it should be able to, to be performed to completion as long as there are audiences who want to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie, it does feel good, doesn't it? Just for 30 years they've been doing this to us, and finally they get just a little taste of their own medicine, and all hell breaks loose.
They lose their mind.
All hell breaks loose. It's like you literally have Trump being assassinated on stage, and I'm fine with that. Like, okay, to express yourself however you want. Kathy Griffin did it, and and I think that what happened to her is the system working as intended. It's like she's supposed to be a family entertainer. New Year's Eve on CNN is like a family show. It's the definition. Watch it with your kids. Somebody who's holding like bloodheads. Isn't really appropriate for that. So that's the market working as intended. Because free speech doesn't mean there are no consequences for what you say. It just means you should be allowed to say what you want in the first place without censorship. Now, when you have said something, you then must live with the consequences of what you have said.
Yes.
Now, it's and it's like sometimes it can be difficult for people to wrap their heads around all of this. Now, I must say, and I do mean it, that I want this production of Julius Caesar to run as long as it runs, and for audiences to be able to see it, for as many times as they want, and from the front row and all the rest of it, and let it speak for itself. But yes, of course, it is lovely seeing them get a taste of their own medicine.
It's just fun to watch them squirming and getting angry.
And getting so upset. So upset.
upset.
And you just sort of sit back and you smirk and you're like, are you getting it yet?
Are you
getting it yet?
Understand yet? You're getting this a little bit. I love your take on a lot of things. You just were talking earlier about cultural appropriation. Could you maybe we'll touch on a couple of subjects that you do cover in the book and give me like your take on cultural appropriation, because I believe isn't this supposed to be our diversity is supposed to be this great thing, and it's supposed to exchange.
It's just another way to hate on white people. Let's be honest, what it is. It's like diversity and multiculturalism is great unless it's straight white men doing it.
Right.
Because of this insane, pathology that has emerged from the progressive campus consensus that, the structural historical injustices justify mirror injustices today.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I was reading a Huffington Post column that said that white gay men are not allowed racial preferences when dating. And as a white person, you're not allowed to say that you only want to date other whites because you're not allowed racial preferences, sexual preferences. But you're also not allowed to say you only like blacks because that's fetishizing their skin color.
Oh my God!
Black people can say that they only want to date blacks because they are the victims of structural historical injustice. Oh my! It's so exhausting and so insane. And I think the more the public hears of this stuff, the more they go vote Trump.
I absolutely have gone on the record on this program and other places to say I exclusively date white chicks. I love white trash girls. I love
me too.
Bleach
me
blonde,
too. That's what I would
halter top and shorts and just bruises on
Dukes
their
of Hazzard and
legs.
downwards. Yeah.
I love that shit.
If I were straight, I would like two kinds of girls. I would like big, busty Latinas, and nothing as classy as J-Lo. Like trashy Miami girls.
Trash, yes.
Trashy Miami girls and skinny, fake tit, blonde bitches like Pammy. I want
barefoot out of their trailer. Something like that is just. I love that.
Yes.
And I've been criticized because I won't open myself up to even thinking like go out with a black chick.
Because you're not allowed to have preferences. Do you know that there's I have to tell you this because it's my favorite expression that they've come up with in everything I've heard in the last 3 years. My favorite thing is if you refuse to countenance dating a transgender person, if the idea of dating somebody who was formerly a dude appalls you, this is called the cotton ceiling. It's like the glass ceiling at women for work that they can't break through. The cotton ceiling because you don't want to get inside the underpants and find out what's there. So it's called the cotton ceiling, and it is the describes the challenges faced by transgender people when dating with the rest of us. And we are bigots for not wanting to willingly throw ourselves into bed with chicks with dicks.
Yeah, I read that if you automatically say I would never date a transgender person, you are being transphobic.
Right.
Like, that's a bad thing.
Right. I saw a thing on a blog today, and I know it's only a blog, and I know that, everyone's going to say, oh, you're just cherry-picking extreme examples, but at some point, there's so many extreme examples, it becomes a sort of critical mass where you're like, look, guys, I'm sorry, this is just what your movement is now. I'm sorry, I'm tired of hearing this. I can give you 50 examples every single day. Yeah. And at some point, it's just your movement. And there was a thing on a blog today that was very widely circulated. It said, oh my goodness, what was it? Oh, it said if you would never countenance having sex with your gay friends, then you're a homophobe. If you would never, if you refuse to even consider it, then you're a homophobe. Consider it,
right?
I mean,
what? This strange indoctrination and reprogramming of our youth and everything. We see it daily on TV. Commercials are a brainwashing tool that used to just be to sell product. I think now, though, there's this thing where every criminal, is a white guy dressed up like a burglar.
They don't dare portray anybody accurately because it would offend somebody somewhere and it would get away. But this is part of. Corporate America. It's. I was talking to somebody today. In England, Gay Pride is sponsored by Barclaycard and the Telegraph, a right-wing newspaper. This is so corporatized now. That this. This is like corporate social responsibility gone crazy. The diversity initiatives in these big companies. Now corporate America, you know, that's why they hated Trump, because they all have the same politics, these guys. They're all part of the same establishment consensus, because they come from the same universities that were teaching the same garbage for the last 2 generations. You know, all these people are part of the problem. And, you know, the people who head up the marketing departments, and this doesn't necessarily come from CEOs. I'm sure most of the CEOs are Republicans, you know, in most business. But the heads of the marketing departments where these decisions are made, they come from the same places that BuzzFeed bloggers do. They have the same degrees from the same universities. Is it any wonder that ads get pulled from Breitbart when people start making a fuss? Because the guy who's making the decision about that has an English degree from Brandeis. You know? Like, wow. I mean, how shocking to me. You know. Anyway,
they call it like, hey, let the market decide. It's free market and everything. I see it as mob-like intimidation when you're making threats against a sponsor of a program that if you don't pull your ads from that program, we are going to cause you some type of trouble. That to me isn't the marketplace. If the sponsor himself goes, wow, this guy isn't doing like Sean Hannity, wow, he's not selling our product well, so let's pull the ad. That's the marketplace.
But pulling it on ideological grounds. But here's the thing. But here's the problem for conservatives, and conservatives are in a bind here, because if we believe that the state should have minimal involvement in private enterprise, how do you solve the problem of Silicon Valley going rogue? You know, Twitter banning me for what? For making jokes about a feminist like movie star. Like I can't criticize a movie, and I didn't do anything that the press report said I did. And Facebook is making me take posts down for a million different reasons every day. You know, how do you solve that problem without intervening in the private affairs of intervening in the affairs of privately held companies?
In the end, it's a private company,
right?
And they have the right to do whatever the fuck they want.
Exactly, but public companies too. You know, how do you interfere in the decision-making process of a publicly traded company? I mean, this is why you have to step back from trying to make laws and rules and restrictions, and you have to work in the culture, work to change people's minds, and work to change the culture, which is why I do what I do. They know this. They've been doing this for decades. It's why they run Hollywood. It's why they run the media, because they know that you have to affect people. You have to go to people where they live and talk about the things they care about, which is not, you know, TPP and even in many cases immigration. It is love, sex, death, money, the stuff people actually care about.
Very passionate.
Their marriage, their children, like who they love, and you know, and that's those values that are reflected in the products that, you know, soft values that are conveyed in the products that Hollywood produces. And just think of one. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I'll give you one example from Taken 3. With Liam Neeson, who, of course, off-screen is talking about how terrible guns are, and on-screen is making millions of dollars from killing people with them.
Matt Damon, too.
There's a moment in Taken 3 where they weave in this really clumsy pro-choice, like, moment where he's with his daughter, and it snapped me out of the fantasy immediately. I was like, what the hell am I watching? What am I watching?
In the middle of your
because they're getting so overconfident, they think they can actually now just tell you what to think. But the good news is the news I read in the Hollywood Reporter, I think last month or last week's issue, it was in the back of a cab somewhere. The cover story in the Hollywood Reporter, the new head of Paramount, a Greek guy. Paramount Studios is in a bit of trouble. They don't have all the big franchises that the others have. So they brought this guy in from Fox. And he's saying he's very clear, like, I'm a big Democrat, but he is making an effort to point out in all of the interviews that he's giving that this will not be reflected in the products that Paramount puts out. So maybe there's hope. Maybe they're getting it. Maybe with Trump in the White House, they're realizing that there's 40 or perhaps 60% of the country they're just not really talking to.
Yeah.
You know?
But,
so who knows?
Oddly enough, I'm not sure, but I think Paramount runs the Star Trek franchise.
Yes, they do have Star Trek.
And the newest, I guess, Star Trek series that's going to be coming out for television is supposed to be, I guess, 10 years before Captain Kirk and the had the Enterprise. And it's an Asian woman and a black woman, and all the guys are cuckold pieces of shit. So to me, you know, it again is just
will it even make a single season? Will it even make a single season?
I tell you, it will not make a single season.
So two things to say on that. One, Star Trek has always been like that. Star Trek is a Marxist multicultural fantasy. Look, it's like sort of like cross species. They don't have currency. Look at the pontificating from Picard in First Contact, the best movie.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, in the future we don't have money. You know, we have more enlightened goals, and there's all all this interspecies blah blah blah. So Star Trek has always been like that. They've always been like that. You have to just pretend you can't see it. Pretend no. But the second thing is, when you don't push things down people's throats and you lead with story first and character first and acting quality first instead of with politics, you get tremendous success. Wonder Woman is a fantastic movie because it doesn't ram it down your throat in the way that Ghostbusters did, you know?
Yeah.
And I was so happy for the success of Wonder Woman because it actually demonstrated finally that you could have a successful female superhero movie. And how do you do it? Take the politics out. You know,
so it's
take
just
the feminism out.
Wonder Woman doing superhero stuff.
It's a good. No, but it's not that it's more mindless. It's
right.
not that it's more mindless because it wasn't. It's not a mindless movie. In some ways, it's quite a subtle. It's quite a subtle film, but it's subtle about all kinds of different things. It's not. It's not saturated with hateful, joyless feminism in the way that the Ghostbusters reboot definitely was.
It's terrible.
Those $40 million in reshoots that Paul Feig did just to weave in a reference to me, and the Twitter controversy where they're huddled around the monitor in the. They're huddled around the monitor in the lab talking about like misogynistic comments on the internet, or there's some reference that he went back and did. He spent like 30 or 40 million on reshoots
to put his own
to get at me
argument
and to get at me
right.
and to just kind of be like, haha, we got him banned from Twitter and all these guys are just misogynists. And I mean, it's like, no, it's not just me. You're just not reflecting what the country believes. YouTube put a video out yesterday, like this refugee thing, and within like 3 hours I had 200,000 downvotes because people are just, and it's not because people are racist. It's not because people are bigots. It's because we're tired of being told what to think, and they don't get that. They still don't get that.
When the Georgia 6th congressional district election just happened, and Karen Handel
I still haven't softened.
I know. Just watching that was awesome. Oh, look at that.
What is that? Somebody's talking about
Alexa. I don't know.
What is that? Did you say something that triggered your?
Why would the Daily Show come up?
Because you said something about Georgia. You said something about.
I did. I keep this here to see. I figured I'd put this here to see when it just pops on because it does it at my house, and what all of a sudden Comedy Central pops on.
You see, this is it. You mention a news event. You mention a news event, and they bring you what? Not Fox, not even NBC, ABC, but Comedy Central.
That's why I put this here. Totally random. I wanted to see because it does that at my house.
It's
what the fuck would just pop up?
A, it's always listening to you, and
always.
B, live on air. You got proof day after day that it's sort of trying the biggest news,
and it won't let me.
The biggest news story, the biggest news story of the week, and it's giving you Comedy Central, and I wonder what they have to say about it. And MSNBC, I love this. MSNBC promising wall-to-wall coverage in their hubris that this Ossoff guy was going to walk it, and then as soon as it's clear the Republicans are going to win, they find some fascinating human interest story to switch to. Way more important than sitting and analyzing why it might be that were so catastrophically wrong again.
And they want us to believe when they go, well, Donald Trump's numbers down again, 39%. It's like, you expect us to believe any polls you put out anymore?
They don't. It's like they haven't learned their lesson. They don't want to learn their lesson. They think doing the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again is going to win, and they're just not listening.
No.
They're not listening.
They still have ridiculous Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, which, by the way, Trump's tweet this morning was hilarious when he put that Pelosi should stay in there. It's good for the Republicans.
Please,
crying Chuck. And so he is one of the greatest trolls that have ever been.
He trolled he's trolled his way to the presidency. I wanted to write like a 5,000-word feature on Trump trolling his way to the presidency. Nowhere will publish me these days because I'm like too hot to handle, despite the fact that I can sell 500,000 books. Like somebody somewhere likes me, but apparently too hot for Time magazine.
Right.
Okay, fine, whatever, guys. I'm just wait for the next bit of bad news you can spin or whatever. But I hate the media so much. But I thought it was yet again smart, brave, and true of Cumia, the feminist critic, who is an old-time lefty, to come out and say that what the Democratic Party has done to the media, to journalists in this country, is a disgrace and a disaster, and is going to take decades to unwind.
Yeah.
And they have turned it from the fourth estate, from a pillar of liberal democratic society, into a sort of asinine, trolly, childish indoctrination vehicle.
I use childish all the time when I'm talking about the left.
They're so childish. Look at those petulant faces and sad CNN.
Emotion. I was watching the hearings when they were talking with Jeff Sessions, and from the left, you kept hearing, "I felt, I believed, I thought, I think,"
and then we're used to women speaking.
Everything else
now
is
men
just,
speak like it too on the left, and it's like,
this
well, personally, I personally really believe that, and you're like,
all emotion driven.
Yeah.
And when I look at trials, the Bill Cosby trial, that motherfucker is guilty as sin. It was like, there's no way a prosecution 12 years ago, whatever, I go, he will be acquitted. And then they're getting on me like, "Oh, you're rape apologist." I'm like, no, I'm talking about the facts here. When you mention facts, and I've heard the term hate facts.
Hate facts
which is
great.
hilarious.
This is something we made up on the internet. Hate facts, meaning something that is indisputably true, but which upsets so many people and is called, which is gets you labeled a bigot.
Yes.
So, for instance, any of the inconvenient statistics about Black Lives Matter.
Oh my.
Any of the and let's not even any of the if you really cared about black people, would you be talking about this or this? let's not even. We all know this. Yeah. Any of the inconvenient truths about the wage gap or campus rape culture. Any of the the really inconvenient truths. And yeah, hate facts. It's the best word.
Once, he goes. He's like, who would send their daughter to a school when 1 in 4 women are being sexually assaulted on a college campus? Who would send their daughter there?
And who? No, of course. And would it be happening? No. And the statistics just don't bear it out at all. And here's the other thing: would progressives want, in the best interests of women, to perpetuate the progressive orthodoxy on campus when that orthodoxy has created a rape climate that rivals the Congo? And it's like, you guys have been running these institutions almost completely unopposed for 30 years, and they are hotbeds of racism and rape. How's that worked out for you? Why don't you try a Republican?
Yeah.
Maybe they won't be so hysterical about things. And you know what? Newsflash, maybe things aren't that fucking bad.
Maybe things. When I see some of these meetings that end up on YouTube and whatnot, where they're just screaming about how unsafe they are on that campus.
It's my favorite thing to do.
It's like,
it's my favorite thing to do.
What's happening to you that we're not really hearing about, except for the hoaxes that we've
of course, and every single one you ever hear about. I wish I disagree with you. I disagree with you on something, but evidently there's nothing. Evidently there's nothing. So read my book "Dangerous" for a distillation of his thoughts in meaner language.
The book is just. I'm so glad you put that out because.
No, I wasn't. You think I was going to let them win? Are you kidding me?
No, I know, but I do know what it's like to be sitting there after you've been thrown out of society to a point and just sitting alone in your house going like, ooh, because no matter how strong you are or how much you think you're going to get back, you do sit there and go like, I think I just really fucked myself here.
There's a 72-hour period where you're like,
oh, God.
And it's like, I know I didn't do anything wrong, but couldn't I just have closed my mouth this one time and not lost my show, lost my book deal, whatever, But no, fuck him.
And that's how you have to think.
You have your own network now.
I literally had to build this place because I wasn't allowed to talk anywhere. I wasn't allowed. And, and
now you have your own thing. Awesome. You have personalities under you. I mean, you have like a little empire going.
Yeah, this initially was a lifeboat when you threw me out of Sirius XM.
And now it's a very pleasing yacht, and one day it'll be an aircraft carrier. It's wonderful. I love it. I love it.
Building. Feminism. I wanted to get your take on feminism because when we saw Karen Handel win, none of these feminists, none of these people that complain about the glass ceiling and Hillary should have won and it was misogynistic voting that she lost. Well, that's one of the 80
Aren't you happy the girl won?
But
you'll never hear that because they reserve more disgusting language and more of their hypocrisy and vitriol and bile for women, to be perfectly honest with you, for women who go off reservation than any other group.
Right.
Because I think they feel the most betrayed by them because feminism has such a huge is such a huge presence in the progressive ecosystem.
Yes.
It's the thing around which it is the thing along with Marxism around which everything circulates. You know, BLM really is like an offshoot of the sort of Marxist feminist, you know, movement in universities, right? It's not really about race. It's an offspring of you know, Marxist social theory in college campuses. You know, it's not really about the race stuff. Not when you get down to it. And feminism and Marxism, feminism and communism are the two, you know, sort of the you know, the two. It's a two-star system around which the whole rest of the progressive orthodoxy, you know, orbits. You know? So if you go for feminism, they get particularly upset about it.
Yes.
And if you're a woman who goes off reservation and goes right wing, you become. I mean, the language they use about conservative women is
unbelievable. They are literally
Ann Coulter, Margaret Thatcher, Ayn Rand. And then even people who are a bit less respectable, respectable is the wrong word, but like Michelle Bachmann, who's kind of funny. I mean, she's kind of funny. She was kind of a little bit weird and quirky, you know? And I'm sure she's a perfectly nice lady. I've never met her, but she's kind of a little bit, she was funny. Like, she was funny. She was a little bit funny. But the language they used about her was amazing.
Ann Coulter was called a cunt like 20 times, almost 20 times during a roast, a Comedy Central roast.
Right, but she won the day. I mean, she was there with her book on there, and she knew exactly what she was doing.
She knew how to play it.
She is such a pro, and people underestimate and underrate her, and they put her on Comedy Central, and she's totally and completely without fear, and I love her for that. And she's just there. This is my book. You should buy it. It'll tell you like what's wrong with America, and she doesn't give a crap about.
There are so few people in this country that have that ability to say anything they want and not suffer these repercussions, because it seems the other side have given up on some people. And the only reason they give up on some people is because they're not afraid of them anymore. The most strongest people like Ann Coulter cannot be intimidated by the left, so they wind up leaving them alone. She can say whatever the hell she wants.
Yeah, well, it's partly that, and it's partly that they have a sort of selective blackout strategy where if a book is really, really inconvenient to them, they'll pretend it doesn't exist.
It doesn't even exist.
No, so that's why I have to spend $35,000 on a billboard in Times Square.
Right.
Look out for it. You're going to love it. It's fantastic.
That is.
Honestly, it's the best picture ever taken of me. You'll love it. But it's, you know, like but it's expensive. It's expensive. I spend $500,000 on private security every year. It's expensive.
That's crazy.
I know. Just to make sure I don't die. And, you know, I'm going around town, you know, having to spend these crazy amounts of money to just because the media won't acknowledge that there is a colossal movement growing behind me and other figures, people like Gavin, who you know so well, behind all of us. You know, there's a little cluster of us, you know, and there's this gigantic movement growing.
What kind of response do you get walking down the street? Do people?
I think people who don't like me don't come up to me
in
general, and then, you know, people who do will come up, and, you know, what's interesting is it's not like the general fandom, like I know you from the TV. It's much more specific than that. People will come up and say, I really agreed with what you said on X. And it shows, first of all, that I think I have more intelligent fans than everybody else, but also that people are really listening and they care and they're tuned in. It's not just that they're enjoying the camp spectacle. They're actually listening to what I'm saying in a way that the press doesn't. And that's really, and the level of intelligence and specificity that I get on the street from people who come up wanting selfies, you know, just wanting a picture, you know, what they actually say is remarkable to me.
I've noticed that a large portion of the left are some of the most misinformed and just plain ignorant people with whatever topic they're protesting. I've never seen a more ignorant group of people than anti-Second Amendment. They know nothing of the laws. They know nothing of the mechanics of a gun.
Kind of like the easiest game in journalism, isn't it? Sending a reporter down to a left-wing protest and just asking questions.
Asking questions and
exposing them. It's low-hanging fruit, but it's never not entertaining.
Another instance where you watch and just go, "This is great."
Yeah, no, but it's like I'm never going to get tired of this, you know. But it's low-hanging fruit. But yeah, I mean, I think there's plenty of ignorance on both sides of the political divide. But there are little slices of the left that are uniquely impervious to reason, fact, and logic. And so I think that the gun control people and feminists and Black Lives Matter are the three big ones for me, the three obvious ones. I think you know, abortion is much more nuanced and complex, and there are plenty of people with very well thought out positions on that because it affects so many people so directly. Think about it more, you know. So I think people have much more nuanced and individual and well thought out positions on that.
Yeah,
And you speak to them on an individual basis, wherever they fall on the spectrum, than on some of these other issues, which for many people are primarily speculative or theoretical.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the theoretical stuff, most people just don't know what the hell they're doing. They just want to show up and be angry about something, which is fine.
Be angry about anything.
So keep keep doing it, guys. You're just getting me more book sales. But it is the easiest game for right-wing journalists. Just go and just ask questions.
And they just spew out nonsense. When Karen Handel got elected, I was going through Twitter
Don't
and
say it because you're going to set that thing off again.
yeah.
No, you pulled the power.
I pulled the plug out. Which
the only way to stop them from listening.
The only way to stop. I feel more secure with this literally a microphone in front of me that I'm not going to give out any secrets.
I mean, I know this thing is listening to me all day.
Oh, all the time.
I'm not an idiot.
All the time.
It is I mean, of course it's listening to me all day.
All the time.
There's nothing we can do about it.
And people say, well, I'm not doing anything bad, so I don't care. It's like, yeah, today, what you've done might turn out to be bad a year from now.
But it's not just that. I mean, I have a right to privacy. I'm trying to build a company.
You really don't.
I
don't.
Commercially sensitive information going through this thing, and I know it's listening to every word I say, and it's someone has it somewhere. I know that. I
have one of those Alexa units in my house, and because I just love seeing when it chimes in for no reason.
Yeah.
And I was watching something on ISIS, and it said it's great to make new friends every day. And it's like, I'm watching ISIS. What the fuck?
You just know that, you're going to be having a debate with somebody at home about, Islam, about the Pulse nightclub.
Right.
And then you'll just hear Alexa say, Islam, the religion of peace.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like this sort of we are living in this dystopian future already. We're here. It has arrived. We are being instructed what to think.
So strange.
The future is far left.
I thought it was going to be flying cars and jetpacks.
No, we're not getting the hoverboards. We're getting scolding, finger-wagging discs from Amazon that tell us what to think about news stories.
Oddest thing. When I watched shows about totalitarian governments and things years ago, and we just
willingly did it ourselves.
Willingly took. If you don't take your tracking device with you on a daily basis, you freak out. You want to go home because I need my tracking device.
But you see, what Orwell didn't foresee was the role of the private sector in
all of it.
Because he thought it was going to be the government misbehaving. And actually, the government is relatively benign because it's so incompetent.
But also the government is the people, so it's almost does work out that we are spying on each other. We're listening in when something happens. The first thing we do is just start recording it.
Right.
So we're ratting ourselves out. We're our own big brother.
Sure. I mean, look, Americans sometimes disagree with me on this, and maybe this is just me being European, but I'm far more relaxed about the NSA doing its job.
Right.
than I am about Google and Facebook and Twitter and Apple.
There you go.
Way more relaxed about the security services doing what they are supposed to do. And if they listen to a couple too many conversations or they stop a couple too many people at the airport, if they are doing their job and actually stopping terrorism, killing Islamic terrorists and stopping people from dying, I'm relatively relaxed, despite everything I've just said about government agencies, provided that they're properly run and overseen.
Yeah.
As if they are dedicated to the mission of keeping people safe, in principle at least, if not in reality, I am more relaxed about that than I am about Google. Much more so. I mean, what's Google going to do next? Probably buy a movie studio, maybe Paramount. I mean, there's just Apple is going to start doing cultural. These people they're going to start eating the whole world. I want to
know why Google isn't getting involved with self-driving cars.
Facebook could buy anything. That these small cluster of Silicon Valley businesses are eating the whole world, and their CEOs are buying major newspapers. Jeff Bezos now owns the Washington Post. This is what's going to happen. The media titans of the future aren't going to look like the ones of the past. They're going to be young tech execs. They're going to be in hoodies, but they own the Washington Post, and that's terrifying to me.
What do you think is the biggest threat right now to our freedoms?
The media.
For sure. Absolutely.
The American media.
No, I agree with you too.
I'm sorry. We're gonna. I'm never coming on the show again because this is really boring.
Really dull. We just don't disagree with it.
It's just like
real back and forth.
I think so too.
Angry thing. Yeah, the media
must
has
disagree on something. What am I? Oh, okay. I can't. I kind of agree with the case for reparations, which you.
Oh, you do? Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Okay, there's something, but it's for
I
another
think
day.
it paid in full.
That's for another. I just want it spent on schools so that poor black kids, if they're smart, can go to Harvard. But I think that's for another day.
I think poor black kids that are smart are going to Harvard.
I
think every
you're probably right in some areas.
Every celebratory story about somebody that makes it into it's got accepted by 5 Ivy League schools. I don't even have to click the link to know what I'm going to see.
No, but for that kid, there's probably another 50 who lived in areas where they didn't have schools that could teach them to a standard where they could where they would even know how to apply for Harvard.
If you're a well-educated, well-spoken black man in this country or black woman,
yes,
you have carte blanche over work, over what you want to do.
That's absolutely true. The question is just how many of them are there relative to the rest of the African American population,
how many,
and I'm not sure how many that is.
True, but how many?
Because I think oh, there's one here. There we go. Because the schools are so terrible, So I don't mind.
We spend so much on education. What are we supposed to do? More money?
If you want to call it reparations, I'm even chill about that. I will take it. Like I don't necessarily. I mean, I'm a Catholic, so maybe you could persuade me because original sin's kind of in my DNA. But maybe you could persuade me. Maybe.
Yeah.
And if you could, then great, good for you, and fine. You can have that. That's your one victory. The left, okay? Milo Yiannopoulo is for reparations for slavery. But I want it spent on schools. I want I want a world-class school in every shitty black neighborhood. Every single neighborhood.
I'm under the assumption that we spend a hell of a lot of money on education in this country, and a lot of it is in the inner cities. Yet, I think political correctness and not addressing the real issues that are hurting the inner cities. Afraid to have that open and honest discussion that everyone says we have to have is more of a problem than a lack of funds.
Putting this under some kind of welfare department, closing the Department of Education, and instituting and really enforcing the First Amendment requirement on all federally funded educational institutions, I think would go a long way.
That's bullshit. I just want to disagree. No, I hear you have to run at 5.
Oh, do I? Probably. I have birdies in my ear.
Yeah, what are they? You don't know what you're doing. Other people handle you now.
I just get told what to do. I understand. No, do you have any idea how nice my life is now? It's wonderful. I just get shipped from place to place. I get told what to do. You're going on a radio show now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We take you to hair and makeup now. Okay.
They let you out. You do your thing. You get back in. They take.
They tuck me in. They wake me up the next day. It's wonderful.
Awesome.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Thank you, BuzzFeed.
Yeah. No shit.
No, I'm serious.
Milo Yiannopoulo, the book Dangerous is available everywhere. Amazon.
Already a bestseller.
Yeah, already a bestseller.
Come and join the party and tell me what you think of it.
That's great. Another fine hair do on your book cover.
Thank you. Yes, it is. In addition to today, and thank you for this lovely thing. I am much thinner than this picture, so we'll have a chat about that afterwards.
No problem.
And when I come on next time, we'll fix this. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. But otherwise, thank you for this. It's lovely, and I love the holiday. It's great.
It's been awesome. Thanks so much for hanging out.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Great, and continue doing what you do. It's fantastic.